we have an amazing event planned for you with our partner Wiseline. My name is Dave Bolshman. I lead our data and AI team for Microsoft, based here in Montreal. I lead a team of specialists across Eastern and Central Canada. So a real pleasure to be here. I've been at Microsoft coming on 3 years. It's been an incredible journey, and an incredible journey because of our partners who are here. So specifically our partners Wiseline, who you'll hear present in the next couple of minutes. I'll do a quick intro and then I'll hand it over to Anibal for the rest of the presentation. But I want to start by giving just an idea of what's going on in the AI landscape. So who here has used ChatGPT? Yeah, pretty much. I think if you haven't used ChatGPT, you've been living under a rock. And if you haven't, your kids are using it if you have them to cheat on their homework, guaranteed. So ChatGPT has been revolutionizing the way we interact. The whole field of generative AI has moved just in such an incredible pace over the last few months. And for us at Microsoft, it's been quite a ride. For our partners as well, who have been on this journey with us, and for our customers and those who are in the field, like you, our practitioners who we work with, you've seen probably the progression, you've seen the sea change that we're viewing. So I entitled the presentation Meeting the Moment. And the reason I called it Meeting the Moment is it's an opportunity for all of us to capture this wave of AI. And I think of it as almost a second hype cycle, because if you think back to 2018, that was kind of the first hype cycle of AI. Everybody was like, "Oh, AI is going to be really cool. It's going to revolutionize everything," and it really didn't give us what we wanted. Although large companies were able to adopt it, we didn't see broad adoption of the technology. And now what we're seeing with this new technology, with ChatGPT and other generative AI technology, it really is kind of that second hype cycle, but it's democratized access to AI. It's made it available, and it will change the way we interact with software. Now, what I mean by that is think of how you interact today with your laptop, how you interact with a computer. If you open up PowerPoint, for example, you might click a bunch of different places on the screen. You'll give input to the computer to tell it what to do. Think of how many times it doesn't do what you wanted. And this happens to me, even though I've been working with technology for a very long time. So as you click on different places, think of all the times it didn't work, and you have to spend more time telling the computer what you want it to do. Essentially, as you point and click, type in, you're giving instructions to the machine. Now imagine if you could go back and just write, just like you do with ChatGPT, and tell it how you want to interact. That's the promise of the era of AI. It's we're now able to interact with a machine in the same way that we interact with a person, give it instructions with the goal of improving our productivity. So it really is a change in the way we interact with software, how we're going to interact with computers. And that's why we see it as a new era of innovation. It will bring a bunch of breakthrough innovations in how we interact with computers. But data is the foundation. Without good data, especially in large enterprise, if the data doesn't work, if the data isn't there, and the data is incorrect, the AI is kind of like a mirror. It's not going to invent things that it didn't know about. It might hallucinate and produce things that it thinks are correct, but really think of it as a mirror. It's based on the information that it's given. And so the data that underlies it has to be good quality. Now, if we back up a little bit in how we got here, and this is a fascinating story because if you look back in around 2011, the first researchers at Stanford University were working on a project called ImageNet, which was the ability to put in a picture and have the computer recognize what was on the picture. So think of it as giving a computer the picture of a cat or a dog, and it was able to say with a reliable degree of confidence what was on the picture. That's what's referred to as object recognition. Now, fast forward just 5 years later, object recognition in 2016 already was at human parity. That means if you're given as a person a picture, the computer is just as good as interpreting what's on that picture. That was already in 2016. Same with speech recognition. If you interact with a voice assistant like Siri on your phone or Alexa or Google Home, all of those voice recognition since 2017 are just as good as people. So the breakthroughs have been fantastic in how fast these things have happened. And then fast forward to 2023 and actually 2022, when ChatGPT launched, think of all of these different breakthroughs put together in one model that can do a bunch of different things. And that's why when we think about it, how do we get here so fast? It's a little bit like if you use addition, where you do 2 plus 2 and then keep multiplying, or 2 times 2 rather. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, so on and so forth. At the beginning, it's a very slow ramp, but very quickly you get really big numbers. And that's what's happened with AI. It was a slow ramp, But now all of a sudden, take all of these advances, put them together, boom, we've got really, really interesting breakthroughs and more to come. So that's just an idea of what is coming in terms of AI. Now, in order to activate this, a lot of people want to be there, that AI transformation on the right-hand side of the slide. They're like, that's where I want to be. That's the stuff, the cool stuff. There are two underlying pillars that are needed. And the underlying pillars are cloud computing or cloud infrastructure, which has been around for quite a while now. It's now mature in the computing industry, and digital transformation. And think of that, we define that as moving your data into the cloud, moving your applications into the cloud. Once you've done that, you can benefit from the AI transformation. So those are the foundational pillars. In order to get to that AI transformation, those two other pillars have to be in place. Now, let's talk a little bit about OpenAI. I mentioned ChatGPT. So to clarify how Microsoft works with OpenAI, the company. OpenAI is the company that produces ChatGPT. We launched a partnership back in 2019 with OpenAI and invested over $1 billion initially to provide them with our computing infrastructure, so the Azure platform for the Microsoft Cloud, but also our engineering resources and working with them as a team as they started developing a bunch of different products. And so together, we've invested this year several more billions. We haven't disclosed the actual number, but you can search and get an idea of how much that was. It was a lot, lots of billions. And the intent is to bring that service from a commercial perspective to our commercial customers. So think of it as the commercialization of the technology that underpins ChatGPT and some of the others that you see there on the screen. We're able to bring those through Microsoft, through our cloud on Azure, in addition to several others. So we've made commitments to open source like Hugging Face. We've also made commitments to the Llama models from Meta and several others. But there's a keen partnership for Azure OpenAI, and that started making its way into our products. So to give you an idea of how much we've invested, we've seen already, this was back in our earnings call that came up for Q4. So our Q4 ended June 30th. Already we were talking about 11,000 organizations that had already activated the technology on the Microsoft platform, and new customers added every day. So we're really seeing a momentum of customers running this technology, activating it, using it, and getting to the fore of being able to use AI. To give you an idea of the scale of what this means, we've announced that we're opening a new data center, the equivalent of a new data center, every 3 days for the next year. So let that sink in for a minute. At one data center every 3 days for the next year, that's over 100 data centers in order to provide the capacity for OpenAI. So huge investments for Microsoft. It's a bit of a change for us. It means we're investing a lot of capital in order to support this business, but huge, huge focus for us in making this land. A couple of other things is that oftentimes we get questions about security and responsible AI. I won't go into too much detail, but suffice it to say that when you use OpenAI and models like ChatGPT in the Microsoft Cloud, the data belongs to you as a customer. We don't access it. We don't have access to it. We don't send it back. We don't use it to improve our own products. It really is your data, and whatever you do there belongs to your environment. That for us is super important. And also the responsible AI principles. So a lot of practitioners say, well, how can I make this real? If you go on our website and look up our Responsible AI Center, you'll see our V2 of tools and processes, which include a lot of different tools and frameworks to help you make a decision of how to use AI. It's one thing that you can do something, but as parents often tell their children, it's not because you can do something that you should. That's a good thing to keep in mind. As you use the technology, we've provided what we think are some questions to make you go through and decide, is this the right application of how I want AI? And underpinning that, these same principles are baked into our own products. So there are things that we won't let you do with the technology, things like anything that could harm a person, and so on and so forth, any weapons applications, etc. Those things will not work, and they're specifically as part of our responsible AI framework. One last thing is, how's this getting put into our own product set? So you'll see I talked about OpenAI, the technology. We've applied that same technology to all the different products you see here. So without going through all these different products, this gives you an idea of why we're spending so much on our data centers. All of these different products will have OpenAI built into them as a concept of Copilot. And just a little note on why we called it a Copilot. We called it a Copilot because it's an assistant. And we chose that word deliberately as opposed to an autopilot. We don't want people using AI on autopilot and deferring control over to a machine. We really do see it as an assistant, as a co-pilot to a person. And so all these different products have announced that they'll have Azure OpenAI as a co-pilot as part of them. And there'll be more coming along the way. Finally, how do you use the technology? Here are 4 different areas, and I think of this as 1.0. So if you say, how should I use the technology today? You can create new content, hence the term generative AI. It will generate new content like marketing brochures, promotions. It'll generate images for you. You can summarize content, which I think is super interesting. Think of summarization of operating manuals, summarization of legal warranties, etc. Really getting the ability to understand what's in large documents. Generating code. Today we're at about somewhere around 70 to 80% of new code is generated by AI already. So again, for those who studied in computer science like me, you learned programming, you used to have to type everything. Now you have AI helping you as a programmer pair, writing code with you, and helping also check your code to make sure that your code is secure, that your code is well properly done. And some really cool announcements, because I'm a bit of a geek, is things like the ability to document code. So if you've ever worked on spaghetti code that someone else wrote, we'll help you figure that out and eventually rewrite that code for you. And then finally, semantic search, which is the principle of being able to search through either databases or documents in a structured way. And then what we see is a version 2. So as you've kind of gone through the initial maturity, 2.0 of some of these different use cases, I won't read through them, but I think one that really hits and highlights for a lot of our customers is automating contact center operations. Huge, huge value there as one of the different things that we're seeing our customers adopt today. So with that, I'll hand it over to Anibal for the continuing of the presentation.
Merci beaucoup. Perfect. Thank you, David. Thank you, Nicolas, and hi, everyone. My name is Aníbal Abarca. I'm Chief Technology Officer at Wiseline. We are a technology company focused on digital transformation and helping companies modernize their technology stack, their product strategy. And we are Microsoft partners. We came to start our operations here in Canada since last year. And to give you a quick background about the company, we are part of La Caisse CDPQ portfolio companies from the private equity, and that was one of the reasons why we started our operations here. And we're about 2,000 people globally, focused on product engineering, data strategy, and cloud strategy. And since last year, we have been investing a lot on building a very robust practice around generative AI. I want to divide this first or this presentation from our team in 3 main sections, and then we are going to have time to talk and to have something to drink and to eat. And really, we really appreciate the opportunity to meet you and to answer any questions. And we have people in the team here that are experts on the technology, that are experts on the business and market. So we're happy to talk about how could we help you and how can we partner in building this. The first section, I will present kind of our view. What do we think about why are we excited about generative AI and the impact that is going to bring to the market and the impact that is going to bring to the companies. The second part is kind of a deeper introduction into what is generative AI, and Aide Martinez is going to present this, where we can go deeper into the science, into the technology, and happy to answer specific questions if you have more. And the third part is a demo presentation that we prepare, and Ivan Menue is going to guide us through that. Through that presentation, we prepare two demos that are very interesting. Actually, both of the demos are very connected to what David described in the scenarios, in terms of how to accelerate technical onboarding, how to accelerate the experience on the developer side, but that can be applied to many different scenarios. And then analytical, conversational semantic and analytics. Um, so what we see is a phase where we are about to start and about to see the beginning of a new technology epoch, but especially a new phase where we are going to go through an exponential evolution. And and you in the three steps that David was mentioning, we saw the AI phase, and that's of course the fourth column that we see here, and I'm going to explain why it's happening and how is this evolving. The first part is that this is actually not only a technology revolution, it's actually like a full industrial revolution, how we think, how we work, how we learn, how we do everything. And when I think about this, is we come from that industrial revolution that was the beginning of the processes thinking, right? Like we think on processes, we think on production lines, we think on automation, on mechanical automation. And then we move into probably early 70s when the internet started, when the big companies started to grow, and that's what I'm thinking about, the systems era, right? Like this is where General Electric became the biggest conglomerate, right? Like this is where Six Sigma was the best, kind of the top of mind, how we manage companies and um, how we manage processes and improve, right? But and this is where SAP became the huge, right? Like the CRMs and the huge enterprise software came into everyone's, like, this is the future of technology. This is what everyone's adopting. But the reality is that when we look ahead, like and I'm not talking only about technology, I'm talking about management as well, and everything we consume, we we came into the era of ecosystems. Like, and this is the real era where we are actually living right now. It's where the marketplaces are the most successful companies, right? Like the building autonomous entities that are interconnected and that can build value in an independent way. And we see that across every industry, and we see that across every team, across every technology. This is the era of cloud. This is the era of mobile. This is the era of microservices. This is the era of a different management look at how we work, because actually when we were here on the prescriptive rules, change is not accepted, right? If we move a little bit ahead, we think, oh, okay, change can be controlled. That's Six Sigma. Right? And then we move into longer, like into much modern things, and we think like change is constant, and we need to live with that, and we need to accept it. But the reality is that, and when we think about technology in the next generation, is change has to be even embraced, right? And this is chaos engineering, and this is DevOps, and this is all of what we are seeing in that transformation. And in management, if we look at the the rules and the vertical organizations, right? We are in the phase where, if you have read Ray Dalio's principles, right? Like it's more about frameworks. It's about how to build foundational principles to make the right decisions, to attack the right, to solve the problems. So this is the evolution that we are seeing. But what happens if we add to that evolution, we add AI? And that's kind of the question that we are facing right now, and that's what is very exciting. Um, what's coming next? What I believe it's coming something that I'm calling it augmented ecosystems, right? So what's going to happen when every single atom or every single entity in that ecosystem that is interacting is going to be augmented. It's going to be augmented with these copilots. It's going to be augmented with artificial intelligence. And that's what we see, that is actually this opportunity that we are calling AI native. And AI native is, if we see the evolution of these phases, every company is moving from traditional to modern. And that means is, do we have still legacy applications on-prem? Are we already on cloud? Are we a cloud? Are we now building platform as a service solutions? Are we building automation into our software processes? Are we helping our teams to use data in a self-service way, in always available way, right? Like, are we enabling our employees with mobile applications? Are we enabling self-service for our customers? How are we removing the barriers from those processes and rule-based systems into much more organic ecosystems, right? And everything compounds into, as if you are in the best practice, you are producing much more value. But what happens if you're in that best practice and you are bringing AI? And then what is next is what we are seeing with the Microsoft technology that David was just shown. It's the AI native at the same time. It's a new way of thinking about applications. It's a new way of thinking about architecture, about platform. So when we look into the AI native, it's 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 a phase where we are going to be able to extract value and produce value in an exponential capacity. But the good thing about AI as well, and all of the tools that we're seeing and all of the tools that Microsoft is offering and that we're helping our customers to adopt and explore, is that actually it can be used no matter where you are in that phase. Right? Like, you can be on-prem, you can be on traditional architecture, you can still use Copilot, right? And you can still use Microsoft Copilot on Office or GitHub Copilot. Are you going to improve your productivity? Yeah, probably like 50%. But if you're already in the automation phase, in the fully DevOps cloud native, you could already multiply that by 10, right? And that's what is very, very exciting. So at Wiseline, what we do is we help companies to go as fast as we can to become fully on board on the best practice. And now we're helping companies move into the AI native, exploring that, right? Like, how can they enable either their organizations with AI across the organization and different stages, or explore what it's like to be building AI native applications. If you look at Microsoft, you have been following the news for the past year. I believe Microsoft is now a fully AI native organization, right? Like, every month they are launching hundreds of services, copilots, new experiences, and they are doing it first than anyone else, right? Like, and it's so exciting to see how companies are embracing that full AI native mindset and technologies. So that's a bit of a context on why we are very excited about it. And now Aide Martinez, the head of data and AI at Wiseline, who just won an award yesterday in Toronto, is going to join us, and she's going to talk a little bit about what is generative AI. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Aida Martinez. I can't stand myself right now because I'm really excited about what Anibal just said. I just came back from Toronto yesterday. I got an award on the AI Innovator, AI in the Industry by Women in AI North America. So I'm really excited. And hopefully, what I'm going to explain and what I'm going to tell you lets you understand why I won this award. And I really love talking about AI. Was a really great talk by David. I think he's no longer in the room, but it was a really great short talk. What is generative AI? And this is more like not how we use it, not how we implement it. What is it? What are we talking about when we talk about AI? Okay. Um, so I have a couple small slides and small definitions, and I like to move around. But we're gonna make this simple and with simple words. The other day, last week, we recently launched the first Gen AI lab at Mexico in Tec de Monterrey, Campus Guadalajara, along with Wiseline. And the audience was non-technical at all. So I used the same slides to explain generative AI, but feel free to interrupt me if you have questions or if you need me to clarify anything, okay? So AI, a simple definition, is the attempt to make a system, a device, or a computer system, application, or device as smart as a human. But keyword, attempt. It's an attempt because we are still far away from understanding how our natural intelligence and our brain works itself. So it's just an attempt to make them as smart as a human. AI is split into big areas, which is academy and the industry. It's not shown here, but we have two big areas, which is academy and the industry. And of course, we are part of the industry. We just attempted to close that bridge last week with our new Gen AI lab with the academy, like joining with academy. But then there's two areas inside of this, inside of AI itself, which is hardware and robotics on the hardware side and machine learning on the software side. Machine learning is a technique that, by finding patterns in big amounts of data, achieves to learn or to make that application, device, or computer as smart as a human. So, David mentioned in his slides before, um, there's no way, or I think it says something like AI mirrors your data, something like that. It was a phrase like that. And it's completely right. Data is what teaches or what makes AI possible. It's with data that the systems or devices or applications can learn or can do stuff. Just like us humans, our data are live experiences, right? The context where we live and what we do, that's our data. And our sensors are our senses, right? So we attempt to do the same. So AI, and there's another phrase that I like a lot that says that we say AI to investors and machine learning to engineers. So that gives you a hint. AI for me is the adjective, right? It's a qualifying adjective, like this is artificial intelligence, but it is using machine learning techniques. And the techniques we use in machine learning are algorithms or families of algorithms. We've heard everywhere about algorithms, but what are algorithms itself? Because we also hear models and we hear algorithms. So an algorithm, per definition, is a set of tasks to achieve a set of steps to achieve a certain task. Okay. Anything that falls into that description is an algorithm. But we have taken that subject, we have taken that word in mathematics and computing, and that's where we use it a lot, right? So the algorithm itself is the equations or the steps. Like, let's say step one is to get data, and then step two is do this to the data, do this mathematical transformation, or do this, get the average of this set of data and things like that. The algorithm gives me the rules of what I need to do with that data. The algorithm itself doesn't contain data. I like to use the analogy that the algorithm is like a Tupperware, because the Tupperware itself has no functionality. It has the functionality once you put the food inside the Tupperware. Now it's doing what it was made to. The algorithm by itself does nothing, but when you put data into it, it becomes a predictive model or a model itself. When you put data into it, it becomes alive. It's now able to predict or to make smart decisions, predictions, etc. So machine learning is made by algorithms, and algorithms are split in families. We have a family of algorithms called supervised learning. As it names says, we guide the algorithm. The learning is supervised. So as David mentioned before, supervised learning is the same way we learn. Like we went to school and the teacher told us, this is an apple, and this is letter A, and this is letter B. So we can say that they gave us the right answers, right? They gave us the right answers and we made the connections in our minds to learn them. Okay, this is letter A. I'm going to learn it. I don't know how, but I learned it. Something similar kinds of happens with the algorithms. In certain algorithms, such as neural networks and deep learning, it all becomes a black box, and then we don't know what it's even happening there. But then we suddenly learn, and we get parameters and things like that. But we still give it the right answers. We still guide it. For example, let's say you get an email, and this is a really old joke, but let's say would you get an email from an Arabic prince that is willing to give you a lot of money, right? If you only send a little back data and information back. So you will send that email to the spam, right? When we don't even receive those emails now because the servers behind our email are already learned those patterns. But let's say we're like 15 years before. So we received the email and we marked that email as a spam. So we told the model that lives behind the email server, please pay attention on the subject of this email and pay attention on the sender and words that it has. And if you find something similar again, mark it as a spam immediately. Don't even ask me, just mark it as spam. So I'm given small instructions in order for my model to learn, right? So that's the way supervised learning works. I'm giving the right answers. And supervised learning produces predictions. The predictions can be either numerical or classification. Numerical, it can helps you, like time series, for example, is a type of algorithm that helps you predict, I don't know, the price of the dollar or the amount of sales you're gonna sell next month, things like that. So that brings numerical predictions. But we also have classification. The spam example is an example of classification because an email can just be either spam or not spam. There's no in between. So there's only two classes, two ways for the emails to be classified, spam or not spam. So that's classification. And we have unsupervised learning. That sounds really sexy. The name is like it learns by itself, but it doesn't. Like the name is just, I think we need to change that name. I'll do that later. But unsupervised learning family of algorithms, what it does is I give a raw set of data where me as a human or as a data scientist, I cannot find connections between those data, right? I just see the data, that's it. And these algorithms will produce clusters or groups of data, and it will be grouped by similarities in their data. So the mathematical equations, the algorithms, what they do is like they measure distance between points and things like that, and they give you groups of data. For example, if I have a website where I sell cupcakes in my website and I have a lot of information on my customers, but I want to begin targeting my marketing campaigns, then I can begin splitting my customers. So I can use an unsupervised learning algorithm to split my customers into different areas and then begin segmenting my marketing. So unsupervised learning creates clusters of data based on similarities. It doesn't tell me the similarities. Me as a data scientist, I have to go there and I have to analyze my data and see, oh, this group has this similarity or this group. I mean, it looks like it's magic, but it's not. There's a lot of manual work. And supervised learning produces predictions and generative AI, which is the hype. Generative AI, wow. Generative AI belongs to the arm of supervised learning. Generative AI are models. They are models already trained with data. They already had an algorithm and data, and now we are just using what was trained. We're just using the models, okay? So ChatGPT, as David mentioned, is using an algorithm called transformers. Um, those are large language models based on an algorithm called transformers, which was born in 2017, and on the idea of giving attention or more attention to certain or specific kinds of words, such as adjectives, articles, or verbs. So it gives it's a super simple definition, but it gives certain weight and importance to different kinds of words. And that's how it achieves to understand, as David was saying, when we tell them what we wanted to do, right? Hey, ChatGPT, please help me write a post to show off that I just won an award yesterday at Women and AI North America. But I want the post to be cool, and I want it to be short, and I want it to have emojis, right? ChatGPT did that, and I posted that like 2 hours ago. So I think sometimes, and I don't know if that's a subject that is frequent here, but at least uh, where what I've been hearing for our customers and the audience where I've been talking, people are worried because of AI doing human tasks, right? What is going to happen? But I like a lot what David mentioned, that it's named Copilot because it's an assistant and not autopilot because it's not doing the job itself. I like to give this other example about how when the calculators were born, people were worried because there was no longer a need to add, subtract, multiply, or divide, right? But that led to humanity investigating and doing, uh, let's say, more complicated work, more complicated research, and to focus on other areas. There was a question I heard the other day on TV. They said, what do we do with kids doing their homeworks with ChatGPT? And this lady replied, assume they're using it. Assume and accept they're using ChatGPT and bring more difficult tasks that cannot be solved by using ChatGPT. And so ChatGPT is going to do a lot of things for us, but also it will give us time for us to dedicate in important research or more or the next step into the evolution, right? So generative AI, per definition, um, is a type of AI. I don't like that. It's a model. There are models that create content such as a human will create, and they create it, and you can tell it exactly what to create and how to create it. They were trained with tons of data. ChatGPT was trained with, I think it was ChatGPT 3, DaVinci o 3. It was trained with all the information on the internet up to 2021, if I'm not wrong. That's a lot of information. But that also means that it might have bias. So generative AI models are not the source of truth. We need to be aware that it's like if a friend or a colleague give us their opinion, we have to be able to say, okay, I don't agree with this because it has all the data. It also has rules and stuff, but it has all the data. So that's generative AI. And I have another slide over here. I move to the other side. Okay. I really, really love this phrase. The output of a generative AI model isn't the end of the process. In skilled hands, it's just the beginning. Um, that's who we are at Wiseline. We are those skilled hands. We know everyone can use a generative AI model and produce an output and automate things, but we developed our research and development team a year ago based on GenAI, AI itself. The team is doing amazing things. We got our hands dirty with APIs and whatever was available at the moment. At that moment, right now, we build over 15 innovative scenarios. We have our AI native workshops that help us reach that point that Aníbal was mentioning about being AI native. And so I firmly believe we've become these skill hands that can help you um, achieve whatever you dream using Gen AI. And that's it from my side. Thank you.
I hope you have learned something new today. Every time she brings new things, so I always learn something. Um, I, I I want to ask something. David won this question about who has used ChatGPT, but who here fits or sits on the side of the AI optimists and who thinks or sits on the side of the AI pessimists?
Optimist.
Who is an optimist? Who is a pessimist? Or who don't know? Doesn't know. And I think it's important to consider all of those options, and to think about the impact and the responsibilities. Myself and I believe at Wiseline we're definitely excited, as I mentioned, about the possibilities, but we are very focused about making sure that we are doing it and we are helping companies doing it the right way. Um, Before jumping into the demos, I want to talk about why now and why we are here, basically. Uh, a few weeks ago at the Forrester Data and AI Strategy event, Forrester CEO said to the audience, like, the moment to invest in AI is now. It's not in 1 month, it's not in 3 months. If you are not investing right now, you are likely to lose momentum and you are going to lose the race against your competitors. And this is showing in the data, right? Like 86% of the companies and executives in the companies are saying that they are going to increase their investment in AI in the next year, and this is going to happen significantly fast. And about 35% growth year over year is expected for the AI industry, software and services. So it's a huge opportunity for software companies, a huge opportunity for startups, a huge opportunity for everyone to think this is going to be a great opportunity, and this is moving the decisions and is moving the adoption for many other technologies as well. Next year, the market size is going to be over $20 billion. And that's why we have been exploring a lot. We have been creating a lot of scenarios, and we are investing not only in creating solutions, but also on bringing education. A very important part of Wiseline is education. We have an arm of Wiseline called Wiseline Academy. The first sprint was focused on LangChain, and we're going to be releasing new free courses online to learn how to develop AI applications on different services. The next one, I think, is actually building on OpenAI APIs and solutions. And we're going to be helping companies and individuals to learn how to develop these applications. We are using these, for example, there is an opportunity also to build automation, always with human in the loop, but we build some automation. We created an autonomous agent to do market research and to help us create a generative AI map. So we are mapping the landscape of all the tools and solutions. I mean, all the tools, like every day, like there are like thousands probably, but not all, but whatever we can capture, but in an autonomous way. And we are capturing that information, synthesizing that information, categorizing, and making insights into, for text generation, what are the tools that I can use? If I want to use something to create videos or to create audio or to do translation or to do analytics, what are the tools that I can use? So we're creating a map that actually you can find a glimpse of that map in our website, but we are doing that not in a traditional way of doing analysis, as a traditional market analyst, right? Or a traditional reporter in this case. We're doing this using an autonomous agent that is retrieving that information, but not only retrieving, but actually analyzing it and synthesizing it in an autonomous way. As we are working with customers now building their AI native applications, this is a case of a big newspaper, online news outlet called Infobuy, where we have developed several AI applications embedded into the editors and reporters process. So we are definitely investing a lot of resources there. The other part is what David also mentioned. For software engineers, for example, about 96% of the tasks that we can do day to day are going to be enhanced, are going to be augmented with AI. And when we think about the future and when we think about what's coming, and we don't think about replacing humans, we think about augmenting humans. And this is why we think like this is the Iron Man moment, right? Like this is the moment where we are putting the suits on our teams, and we are also building basically Jarvis at the same time, right? Like, and that's kind of what the way we are thinking, and the way we are um, pushing our customers to think about the opportunity with Gen AI. An example on how we are doing this, like we are bringing or building our teams, or kind of putting the suit again around our teams on for design. We are building a design AI toolkit. So every designer is working with tools that are augmenting their capacity. For QA, for software engineering, we're partnering with GitHub, and we're partnering with Azure on building several tools for automation. And as we mentioned earlier, we launched a generative AI lab in Mexico with one of the top universities to start working on new solutions per industry, and investing in research, but also on applied generative AI solutions. And today we prepare 2 demos that are connected to some of the big scenarios that we see every day with the customers. And for that, we invited Ivan Menue to make this presentation. I hope everyone speaks French because we wanted, of course, but we actually wanted to be thankful for the for the community in Montreal and for our presence in Montreal to have this a bilingual experience. So Ivan Meno is going to present our use cases. Ivan.
Merci Hannibal. Bonjour tout le monde. Donc c'est bon pour tout le monde en français? Très bien.
Oui.
Vous m'entendez là? Oui, c'est bon. Voilà, chez Wiseline, on a identifié plusieurs aspects pour ajouter de la valeur à votre business en utilisant l'intelligence artificielle. Le premier, ça va être de créer du contenu, d'accélérer la création de contenu grâce à en optimisant la créativité avec des outils d'intelligence artificielle. Donc ça peut être en faisant que le client soit plus investi dans les process, et on perfectionne les process créatifs grâce à l'intelligence artificielle. Ensuite, donc ça on en a déjà parlé plusieurs fois, on peut accélérer et optimiser le cycle de développement des produits. David l'a mentionné au début, et Heide et Hannibal en ont parlé aussi. Donc on peut optimiser les tâches automatiser les tâches répétitives du développement, améliorer la qualité du code aussi grâce à des outils d'intelligence artificielle comme GitHub Copilot. Et grâce à l'usage de ces outils, on va réduire le temps de développement parce que ces outils aident le développeur à développer plus rapidement. Un autre aspect qu'on a identifié, c'est de promouvoir la productivité avec l'automatisation intelligente. Donc ça va transformer les activités professionnelles en automatisant certaines tâches. Donc voilà, et les deux autres aspects sur lesquels on va discuter aujourd'hui, avec deux différentes démos, c'est de promouvoir l'expérience utilisateur, de l'enrichir, entre autres grâce à des robots de clavardage, des chatbots, un support client personnalisé aussi, et ça permet aussi de rehausser la satisfaction client en exploitant ces outils. Et enfin, le deuxième produit qu'on va démontrer, ça permet d'obtenir des informations clés pour accélérer la prise de décision au niveau de l'entreprise. Donc le premier outil duquel on va parler, c'est notre compagnon d'intégration technologique pour les nouveaux employés d'une entreprise. Certains défis auxquels on fait très souvent face en tant que nouvel employé dans une entreprise, et les entreprises pour intégrer leurs nouveaux employés, c'est que ça peut prendre jusqu'à 12 semaines pour qu'un employé réalise sa première tâche de manière complètement autonome. Et dans ce process, il y a beaucoup de temps perdu pour la recherche d'informations. L'employé ne sait pas où trouver cette information. Et beaucoup de membres seniors de l'équipe perdent du temps enfin, perdent du temps, investissent beaucoup de temps dans la formation de ces personnes, vu qu'ils ont ces connaissances. La solution, donc, avec cet outil ce compagnon d'intelligence artificielle générative, c'est d'aider les entreprises à accéder, d'aider les nouveaux employés à accéder à la documentation technique directement en discutant avec ce chatbot. Ils auront accès à des répertoires de code, par exemple, et des process d'intégration technologique. Ça va aussi les guider pour répondre aux questions les plus communes que se posent les nouveaux employés. Et ça optimise la productivité de ces nouveaux employés tout en laissant du temps aux membres seniors qu'on mentionnait précédemment pour se concentrer sur le développement. Donc voilà l'infrastructure de cet outil. Très rapidement, on a donc le nouvel employé qui communique directement sur Teams, qui était l'outil utilisé par ce partenaire. Et Teams communique avec Azure OpenAI Services, qu'on a mentionné précédemment, pour obtenir l'information dans les documents de Confluence, qui est la documentation interne de l'entreprise. On va passer à la démonstration. Donc, il y a peut-être des questions d'ici là, mais si vous en avez, je vous invite à les noter pour qu'à la fin de la session, vous puissiez en discuter avec nos experts qui sont présents.
Ça, c'est pour un personnel qui est technique. Avez-vous fait ce genre de use case-là pour d'autres personnels internes? Par exemple, contact center, HR, pas parce que le volume n'est pas là, mais dans d'autres divisions de l'entreprise.
Pas à ma connaissance.
Yes, we are working on an scenario that is focused on contact centers. Actually, two scenarios that are not necessarily for the technical staff. One is a contact center for a media company that is it's not for the users, it's not for the customers, but it's for the agents that are responding to the different cases. So that's it's a very similar space like this one, which is a technical onboarding, but in that case it's an onboarding for the cases and for the documentation, and they can respond faster, and also have a faster kind of onboarding and training without the need of having to go through so many kind of cases for the customers. And internally, we develop a similar tool that is for all of our team in Wiseline to ask any question about the policies, the teams, like anything. And we integrate that with our internal websites, our documents, and it doesn't have to be a structure in any way, like and creating rules or anything. So it's helping everyone to respond faster to the information available in the company.
So if I'm a sales employee, I came in, it's been 2 weeks, I don't know how to do an expense account. I just do team chat.
Yes, you can go to that. We call the Wise GPT, and it answers the questions, and it sends you to the policy documents if you want to go to more specific answers. Yeah. So yes, this same architecture that you saw can work for basically customer care, internal documentation, training for agents on the contact center, or in this case for technical onboarding.
Thank you.
It was developed in a way that it can just adjust to new data. So it's, how do you call it? Agnostic to the data. So it just can be plug and play to new scenarios.
Thanks.
Très bien. Donc justement, ce dont on vient de discuter, on peut voir ici que le nouvel employé demande au bot où commencer. Donc il y a déjà plusieurs étapes avec lesquelles cet employé peut commencer et un lien vers le document de FAQ. Ensuite, il demande des informations sur une organisation, puis quels sont les membres de son équipe. Donc le chat, le bot lui répond, le compagnon lui répond avec des réponses très détaillées et toujours partage le lien de la documentation pour avoir plus de détails. Et ensuite, quelles sont les meilleures pratiques à mettre en place dans l'entreprise, les meilleures pratiques techniques. Le bot l'aide également. Donc, toutes ces questions-là, c'est des questions qu'on retrouve régulièrement chez les nouveaux employés auprès des membres seniors. Donc, c'est une économie de temps parce que le nouvel employé c'est la même interface avec laquelle il peut poser toutes ces questions et il a des réponses détaillées et il est toujours, comme vous le voyez, renvoyé vers une source pour avoir plus de détails et une source d'un document Confluence. Voilà.
Something super important here that you can see in this case the repositories are all in English, but you can have a seamless translation and a seamless experience for someone talking to the same bot in French and getting an answer in French. It could be the same in Spanish or other languages, but and then of course this documentation in the back, it's all the same, right? It's not changing, so it's helping also that onboarding in a seamless way.
Merci Hannibal. On a quelques données sur les résultats de l'implémentation de cet outil. 100% des utilisateurs commentent qu'ils utilisent cet outil pour répondre à leurs questions dans un premier temps. 90% des questions ont été répondues correctement. Il faut savoir que pour les 10% restants, l'outil a estimé qu'il n'avait pas assez de détails dans la question. Et les membres seniors de l'équipe considèrent que grâce à cet outil, ils économiseraient 65%, plutôt le temps dédié à la formation des nouveaux employés serait réduit de 65%. Donc c'est très considérable. Maintenant, on va voir un nouvel outil qui s'appelle Conversational Analytics, qui est encore plus technique. Voilà l'architecture. Donc, on a plusieurs sources de données qui sont centralisées sur Snowflake et exploitées par plusieurs interfaces et qui permettent à l'utilisateur d'interagir avec toutes ces données de manière très, très intuitive. Je vais passer directement à la démonstration. Voilà, donc on a une interface. Je vais juste... Voilà, donc on a cette interface qui donne un peu le contexte des données qu'il y a accessibles sur notre base de données SQL et à quoi elles correspondent. Donc ça nous donne le contexte de quel type de données, à quel type de données on va pouvoir avoir accès. Et on lui demande de nous donner les assets totaux par état. Donc, ça crée une query SQL, comme vous avez pu le voir. et nous donne une table des résultats dans l'ordre du plus élevé au moins élevé. Donc tout ça, c'est ce qu'on a demandé directement au bot. Et on peut lui envoyer n'importe quel type de données, comme voilà, là on a demandé à avoir une définition plus précise des différentes données qu'il y a disponibles dans la base de données. Donc là on a tous les noms avec une description. Et tout ça, c'est pour vous montrer à quel point n'importe qui pourrait avoir accès à ces informations. Il n'y a pas besoin d'être une personne technique. On parle comme on parlerait à une personne. Et le bot automatiquement va générer une requête SQL qui va nous donner l'information. Donc là, on a fait une nouvelle requête pour avoir les informations, les données en pourcentage. Et ça nous a actualisé la table. On peut faire des requêtes encore plus élaborées avec, là par exemple, on va voir que on va mettre plus de filtres sur la requête. On veut, on veut le contexte d'une année en particulier, l'année 2019, et par ville. Donc là, on peut voir qu'il y a une colonne qui a été ajoutée, qui est la ville, ensuite l'état dans lequel se trouve cette ville et les assets de cette ville. Donc voilà, j'insiste, l'idée ici, c'est que n'importe qui va pouvoir avoir accès à cette information. Il n'y a plus besoin d'interface. Hannibal. Il n'y a plus besoin de passer par un développeur. N'importe qui peut parler au chat en lui demandant des informations qui sont disponibles sur la base de données sans nécessairement qu'il y ait un endpoint ou quelque chose, un travail de développement de réaliser pour une nouvelle table de données. Voilà. Okay.
Merci beaucoup, Ivan. That's because in this case, we're using a Snowflake on Azure, and we are using a Snowflake from the Azure Marketplace. And this is actually, a lot of this functionality is already available on a Snowflake, and it can be connected. In this case, we built the chatbot on web, but we could connect that into a Teams, or we could connect that into different tools. So in this case, it's not using OpenAI services; it's actually using the engine directly on the Snowflake that uses or other generative AI services. And another example that we're doing at Wiseline, for example, is connecting with OpenAI services and Salesforce to ask let's say that questions that are very hard to answer, like took sometimes like several minutes, or sometimes you cannot even answer that because the data is not available, via complex concepts that require several queries. For example, what will be the win rate of a specific portfolio? Or what is the average rate for services in that particular region? Like in some systems, those type of questions are very difficult to get. And with this type of tools, that makes so much easier for more people to have access to advanced analytics with natural language, right? So this is super powerful, and of course, having this connected with Snowflake and Azure, it's a very simple implementation to start taking advantage of this type of data. Last, before we open the room for questions or listen to your experience or any feedback, we have defined these starting points on how to partner with Wiseline. We designed a workshop, a design exercise that we call AI Native Workshop. This is basically how do we help companies accelerate their journey into becoming AI native. And it's about exploring, focusing on specific journeys, specific processes or products, and work together exploring the generative AI space and redesigning that process, that product, that experience into how will that look like if it's leveraging generative AI. And then we set the stage, or we map the roadmap. We create a roadmap to build that, right? Like how what are the steps that we need to take there to go there. Basically, the AI innovation sprint is the workshop plus a rapid prototyping phase where we can deliver in no more than 6 to 8 weeks a fully functional uh, product that is AI native, and it's solving those problems that we selected with you. And then the third program is a generative AI adoption program, which is depending on this on the stage in the transformation you are, and depending on the tools that you are using, we help you select for the different roles in your organization what could be the tools that are going to help that augmentation, right? Like to build again these Iron Man suits for your teams. Um, and we use the generative AI research that we have and the experience with our teams to support that adoption. And so we're very happy to partner with Microsoft, and we are also very, very happy to be here. And thank you everyone for coming. I hope this was useful, this was entertaining, and you have learned something new today. If you have any questions, we're here to answer, or also we're here just to chat afterwards. So thank you very much.